Right. It simplifies things
I think so.
so many times. Yeah. You mentioned sequencing in there too,
Hmm.
and keeping detailed notes about at bats, right? I mean, that's kind of what it's also for, is to keep detailed notes about your bats and reference that, whether it's good or bad, that can help you later on if you're facing the same team, facing the same pitcher, or just trying to, as you put before, break out of a slump.
Yes. Yeah. No. You know what? Watching film is a little bit of a skill because people can watch film and just be like, huh, like, what am
Mhm.
I looking for here? Like, we're
Right.
just watching the same picture over and over. But like, when
If
you
you don't
kind of
have a
break
if
it
you don't
down,
have an actual approach to doing that, you're just wasting time.
exactly. Yeah. And
Right.
so again, that took me some time to figure out. But like, once you figure that out, I specifically remember like right before we played Tennessee at the World Series, I drew the strike zone or the hit zone,
Mhm.
and I circled one spot, and I was like, this is it. She's gonna come here for a lefty. Like I just was so confident in that. And sure enough, like when it happens, you stand up on second base after that double, and you're like, yeah, like I studied for that. It's a very rewarding feeling that it's not just, oh, I'm playing checkers out here. It's like a whole nother level of chess that you're adding to your game. And you know what? Listen, there's going to be some people who say you're making hitting too complicated. Just get up to the plate and crush. I get it, but some people, I think, are going to benefit from that. This is an advantage. This should be a tool for an advantage, not to overthink or not to. This should be something that is, hey, this is falls in line with my personality, and these types of things help me, and you go from there.
Yeah. I never got that, by the way, that people who say that crowd of just go up there and hit, just go up there and, see the ball, hit the ball. I hate that saying. It's not that easy, right? First
Well,
of all, scientifically, you don't actually see the ball hit the bat. It's
correct.
impossible. Ted Williams said that.
Yep.
Jake
Which is
Epstein
so
says
impressive
that.
he said that. Yeah. The
Cassie
fact that he knew
Reilly-Boccia
that
says
back
that.
then.
But I mean, you're telling me like Pete Rose said, "Oh, I just go up there and I see the ball and I hit the ball." Well, you were looking at scouting reports 3 hours before the game. So
Mhm.
you were referencing something. So keeping a hitting journal is not making hitting complicated for those out there who think that. It's actually helping you if it's used the right way. It's a great tool to continue to evolve as a hitter.
Yeah, I definitely think so. Funny enough, anybody who's criticized, because granted, like when you post on social media, you're putting yourself out there, right? And there's definitely been some criticisms, but there's been certain criticisms that say you're making hitting too complicated. Just see it and hit it, right? And I have to imagine that have not ever gone to that like ultra successful level where hitting got really really hard, because how many times, and this is anybody's played at a high level, you all of a sudden aren't really facing the pitcher, you're facing the pitch caller, whether that's the catcher or the pitching coach, and that's different.
You're
That
facing three people at once.
adds completely changes the game. Yeah. Or B, they just are they are maybe coaching at a younger level where, or they stop playing and they're maybe at that younger level where you can just see it and hit it. Hitting when it is how nice it is, right? To face not that competitive pitching, to just be able to go see it and hit it.
Right.
So who knows?
Yeah. Well, I was listening to Tim Kirchin do the Blue Jays game last night against the Mariners, and he made a great point. He said, "I don't know how hitters nowadays hit fastballs coming at them at 98 miles per hour, and then all this off-speed stuff. Pitchers are so good nowadays. So really, you're not facing just the pitcher, and if you don't go up there with some sort of plan, you're done. You're screwed.
Mm-hmm.
You're cooked." But one of the ways that personally, with everything, all the information that's out there and provided for you at the major league level and on the softball side at the highest level of the NCAA at the collegiate level, with all that information that's out there, something that is personalized to you that could help you even more with your success as, again, a reference point is that hitting journal.
Right. And honestly, I think pitchers could probably do the same thing. Like pitchers can keep their pitching journal, and still have that reflection. Yeah. I often think, I witness it every day. Velo University is my business partner's pitching performance throwing, which really now evolved into throwing, but he works with a ton of pitchers, right? And specifically baseball pitchers, but to see how much pitching like knowledge has progressed in that sport, and the spin rate and the vertical dropping, on like every single thing that you can measure to try to evade a hitter's bat, that has evolved like crazy. Right. We have to keep up as hitters. We have to, because if not, we're going to just be chopped to pieces. And I don't like giving pitchers credit. I think it's just more of a hitter's mentality. I always try to, we're already at a disadvantage at hitters. I don't like to give pitchers even more credit. It's just, I really just try to protect my hitters sometimes, especially because, pitchers get very confident. And I say, that hitter, if you threw him 10 overhand front toss balls, is not going to go 10 for 10. So you cannot take credit for all your outs because some of them are just because hitting's really freaking hard.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. You know, sometimes there's a ball that's hit 110 miles per hour off the bat right at somebody. Right. I mean, you know, then there's the blooper. I remember, you know, I read, now that you brought that up, I read the book about the baseball steroid era by Kurt, I forget his last name now, but it was mentioned in the book how there was a hitter, I forget who the hitter was, allegedly on performance enhancing drugs. And the hitter, he broke his bat and looped it into center field. And that pitcher at the time said, man, this is just, you know, because everybody knew that they were on the performance enhancing drugs, right?
right.
And that pitcher said out loud on the mound, man, this just isn't fair. And now I fast forward. Now I'm thinking, I fast forward years later in 2018, or maybe it was 2017. Bryce Harper hit a home run, a broken bat home run at Citi Field over the wall in right center. Yep. Right. So this idea that, you know, that hitters had the advantage back then, even when they were doing performance enhancing drugs, pitchers have always had the advantage in baseball and softball. I don't care what anybody says. They always will have the advantage because they're not failing 7 times out of 10.
Yep. No, 100%. And until you see the average hitter hitting, what would that be, like 600? Yeah, 600. 400 to 600, right? Like until that happens, like because right, even at 400, pitchers still are winning a majority of the time.
Exactly.
Yeah,
60% of the time, the pitchers are still better than you.
Right. So you know, and I explain that to my hitters too. Granted, you don't base all success off of batting average, but it's very easy to just, you know, I asked some of my hitters, do you know how batting average is even calculated? And a lot of, believe it or not, a lot of my softball girls have no idea. I was like, okay, well, listen, if you had 10 at bats and you had 4 hits, you'd be batting 400. And they know, like, they might not know how it's calculated, but they know what's good and what's not good, right? And I explained how Major League Baseball around 300, you're going to the Hall of Fame. If you're in college and you're batting a little over 400, you're probably going to be in that All-American conversation. And, you know, high school ball just depends on what area of the country you're living in, right? So I said, you know, listen, if you're batting 400 in college, would you be happy? And they're like, heck yeah, that's awesome. And I said, cool. If you got a 4 out of 10 on a test, would you be home celebrating? And they're like, oh, no. Like if they got a 40 on a test, and I'm like, well, what if it was the highest score? That just means the test is so hard. It just means it's that much more challenging. So it's just putting in perspective for them how difficult hitting is and how, you know, because every athlete I say, hey, what's your goal? Consistency. I'm like, great. Let's define it because you chose the most inconsistent thing you could do. You know, let's define what consistency looks like.
So if Tom Brady goes 4 for 10 to begin the game, if Jalen Hurts goes 4 for 10 to start the game, both quarterbacks at the highest level of football in the NFL, if they start 4 for 10, that's really, really bad. Right. People are going to be looking at them like, whoa, you know, that's what are they, like Sam Darnold now or something, right? That's really bad. If LeBron starts 4 for 10 from the field, that's not very good. You're 4 for 10 in baseball. You're 4 for your last 10. You're hot. You're hot.
Yeah, you're doing well. Yeah, you're in a good spot. You feel good about yourself. Yeah.
You're part of the sponsored TV segment, Who's Hot or whatever, sponsored by, like, I don't know, fucking Chili's or something.
So I do preach that to my hitters. And I think at the end of the day, I say, okay, well, if a majority of the time you're going to be failing, not succeeding, even when you're at your best, you're going to be failing more than you're succeeding, then we have to actually get better at failing than we do succeeding in order to be consistent in the sport. And things like the hitting journal, things like, you know, other like mental performance aspects that we've talked about, like branching outside of just see it and crush it is what I think is going to lead to that success for sure.
What was that saying you just said?
What's that?
Failing. Well, failing. I think I know. I know what you said. I don't want to get it wrong.
No. Okay. I want to make sure I say it right. So if we are going to be failing more than we're succeeding, even when we're at our best, we have to start being really good at failing. We have to get better at failing than we do even succeeding.